Hey everyone. So I've been promised I'd put out a video about my experience in Richmond at the sector qualifier this past weekend. Uh, I was a little bit delayed, but here it is. I wanted to put this one out right when I got back home, but I ended up getting the flu and got pretty sick. So I'm finally able to talk. So I'm gonna try and remember as best as I can everything that happened over the weekend. It was a little bit of a blur, but I did my best to write down a little bit about each matchup, and that way I could talk through everything and let you know my thoughts. But first thing first, here is the list that I took to the sector qualifier this past weekend. Ray Tarkintown, as you know, I am a champion of this list. I think it's really good. I think that this deck is really well positioned in the current meta. It was pretty bad last set, to be honest. I played it anyway because well, I guess I shouldn't say that it was bad, but it had a lot of bad matchups last set. But I played with it anyway because I was so experienced with the list that even though it wasn't very well positioned, I was able to do fairly well with it. Didn't win any PQs or anything with it last set, but was able to get a lot of top cuts in a lot of tournaments with it, despite it not being super well positioned. So this set, prior to the bans, I was still feeling like it wasn't very well positioned. I was thinking about playing something else this weekend, like something like a Luke Green, that I thought had a decent matchup in a Django. And then the bans happened, and I started playing Ray again, just for fun. And Ray was just like winning a lot of games. So, and then we with stat tracking on Swoo Stats, and combining our stats with the rest of my Patreon members, we were seeing that it was like doing about as well as like Han Green, in on online at least. So, and I like the matchup into Han Green. I like the matchup into Sabine and Quinlan. It used to be a bad matchup, but it had been feeling a lot stronger. Cad Tarkintown didn't feel so bad. So we felt pretty good about Ray going into the Richmond weekend. So anyway, here is the specific 60 card list that I took to Richmond. Not a ton of surprises. Black 1 is one of the main new cards that we got this set that's really good in Ray. We like this as it originally was replacing the A-Wing because with 1 XP it became a 4/4 with Ray because the ability says if it's upgraded it gets +1 attack, so the XP makes it a 3/4 and then the +1 attack makes it a 4/4. That's really strong, especially against decks like Han that are running the Millennium Falcon. If it stays alive past turn 1, then you're able to lock out them deploying the Falcon turn 2. Um, then you also have a couple of A-Wings in there. These are basically just ersatz black ones. You just want another ship that can do 4 attack in space. Um, and then the main things that I'm running main board that some people might not be running are Regional Governor as a 2 of. That's also really good in the Han matchup, being able to wait for them to activate and then calling Millennium Falcon turn 1 can sometimes kill their turn. Or otherwise, you can also name Resupply if your hand, if the other cards in your hand mean that you would be really weak to a Resupply, like Explosive Ramp Start, you can name that. Then the other thing that I added after seeing some success from one of my teammates was Entrenched. He had been running Entrenched in his Anakin build, and I saw how good it was, and I was like, man, I think that would be pretty good with Ray too. I used to not really like Entrenched in this deck because I didn't really think it like. I just liked having the lightsabers better, but and I thought we traded so well, like I didn't really need to be able to entrench things. But the with the rise of piloted like sort of Voltron units, entrenched I think has gotten a lot better. Um, Now when like not just Han but Sabine is also playing turn 1 space unit, turn 2 pilot. So you can start with a turn one ground unit, and then t- turn two after they pilot their ship, you just throw an entrenched on it, and if they just like you just killed like two of their turns, and usually they don't have a really easy way to remove the entrenched, so the ship just sits there the whole game, and we'll talk about later how effective that was in this tournament. But it basically the playing entrenched makes it so that I don't have to play nearly as much space as other decks might have to. I basically play the black ones and the A wings, and then three Conquer Dawns. And then once I entrench a ship or two in space, I just never have to deploy in space for the rest of the game. And that makes it so that I'm able to resource a lot smarter. I'm able to, instead of having to keep hands where you have to keep respecting the space arena throughout the entire game, I can just ignore space for the rest of the game and resource all my ships, and it makes like the rest of my game feel like I'm a lot luckier because I never have to resource any good cards because I'm just resource like basically my ships just turn into like lands at that time for the Magic players out there. I just auto resource my ships, and it makes me able to just be much stronger on the ground that way. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. um, anyway, so that's like the regional governor and the entrenched are kind of like the only spice in the list, I guess. The rest of it's pretty standard. I am mainboarding Jedi lightsabers. I think they're really good in the current meta. Even it's kind of weird that even though we are in like the upgrade meta, um, you would think that upgrade hate would cause the value of upgrades to go down, but for some reason that hasn't been the case. In fact, I think uh, Jedi lightsabers are as strong as they've ever been. Um, I think being able to have like a big leader is still really good. So I'm still keeping them in the main board. It's still really good against Sabine. It's good against a lot of the mid-range decks that are popular right now. Um, like Anakin. It's good against Quinlan. Sometimes they run Bamboozle on the main board, and it can be a little tough, but it's not the end of the world if you get Bamboozled. Um, it's just going back to your hand, and then yeah. So like I said, even with upgrade hate, I don't think it's that bad. And then we have the sideboard. The sideboard is where it gets a little bit more interesting. I have two moisture farmers in the sideboard. Um, I for a little while was running moisture farmers in the main deck, but I really only want them in a couple of matchups. So I want them in ping matchups, and I want them in like really fast aggro matchups. So I'm just bringing them in for those. Against like mid range and control decks, I prefer R2D2. I really like the utility of R2, being able to filter through your deck. Adds to that what I was talking about earlier about the your opponents feeling like you're lucky. R2D2 um, makes you seem luckier than you are. And then we have three system shocks. I was running Confiscate for a while, and then someone turned me on to the system shocks. I think it's really good in a couple of key matchups. One of both the Sabine ECL and the Han Green matchups. You can play system shock. So if you don't get the entrenched and they play if Han plays Millennium Falcon turn 1 and turn 2 plays Chewbacca or any other pilot, you can system shock, defeat the upgrade, and then it puts 1 damage onto the unit, and then that leaves the Millennium Falcon with 3 hit points remaining, and we conveniently have a base with an epic action that does 3 damage to a damaged down leader unit, so you can finish off the Falcon. So it's a very like clean way to take care of Millennium Falcons with Chewbacca on them, and I like it a lot. It did kind of. There is some matchups where it's not as good, namely against like Vader pilot, and against Bosk, where you ended up having to damage your own units. It's a little awkward there, but I think the upside of being able to take out the Falcons is good enough. It also did. I think it one time killed a Sabine's masterpiece by being able to like effectively do 2 damage to it by getting rid of a XP and then doing the 1 damage to finish it off. after it had ambushed me. So the one damage does come into play a decent amount of time. So I'm probably riding with System Shock for the time being. But I could see someone who would prefer to just run Confiscate, or um, even like a mix of the two. Like maybe you want to hedge your bets and play like 2 System Shocks, 1 Confiscate. I wouldn't hate that. Just in case you're like Vader 4 seems to be popular. So if you're really worried about Vader, or God forbid Boba, I could see running the Confiscates. But I think that between Entrenched and 3 copies of Poe and 2 copies of Rivals Fall, we have a lot of answers for dealing with Vader Leader. So I don't really think we need it for that matchup. Then we have like just an extra copy of Tech in the sideboard, bringing that in against control matchups or against Quinlan. And then we have a couple copies of Cham against the Kiras and the Han Solo from set 1, because anytime they activate on your 4 resource turn, you get to drop Cham, and then you get to usually you get to deploy your leader. Sometimes the same turn as they deploy their leader, so that's pretty good. And then bring in the Nemas in against aggro decks. All right, so that's the deck. Now I'm going to talk about some of my matchups. So day 1 started off really smooth. We had Quinlan Tarkintown round 1. Now this Quinlan player was very unfamiliar with the matchup. I don't think he had played against Ray recently, if at all. So I was just able to exploit that asymmetry in experience and beat him 2-0. They just didn't really. I don't really think they knew like how to play against someone who was comfortable passing. I do remember that I drew 1-drops a lot in both of my Quinlan matchups, and that helped a lot. Being able to start with a 1-drop was really super helpful. The round 1 Quinlan that I faced was not playing any 1-drops as far as I could tell on his deck, so he wasn't able to ping my turn 1 play. Also entrenched. I believe in this matchup I was able to entrench one of my 1-drops and just be able to completely like lock down the ground arena. If I remember correctly, like in game 2, he wasn't able to even deploy his leader to the ground, because I just had like a unit. Like I think I had something like an R2 with like a entrenched and a Jedi lightsaber on it or something like that. Like he just couldn't. I had a unit that did 7 power on the ground. It was either an R2 or a Sabine or something that just like stopped them from being able to deploy. So being able to use entrenched as like a removal spell by like playing it on a space unit, or being able to like play it on your own unit on the ground as like an extra copy of Jedi lightsaber is really good, especially in Ray, where I don't necessarily care about doing damage to base in the early game. I'm perfectly happy with just putting an entrenched on one of my units and just like killing all of your guys, and then eventually after R2D2 has killed like 3 or 4 of your guys, then he passes away, and I let my other units take over and start doing the damage to base. Round 2 played against Anakin Colossus. Similarly, this Anakin was completely unfamiliar with the Rey matchup. I think he went into this game or into this match thinking that it would be like a mirror match, and it was not. My version of Rey and my playstyle is much more controlling, and he misunderstood his role in the match. He was trying to play a controlling role, and I was able to just like completely dismantle him by winning trades, by removing his hand, just like generally like stymieing everything he tried to do. He just didn't get that he was supposed to be the beatdown, and should have just been like putting pressure on my base. So at the end of it, he was kind of surprised at what happened. I think he literally said, "What just happened?" So anyway, that was just again another opponent who was unfamiliar with the matchup. Probably hadn't played in set 2 or something, and just didn't know how Ray worked. The next match was against Vader 4 Yellow. This opponent sat down and told me that each of his previous matches had been over in like 10 minutes. He assured me that the match would not go to time. I believed him, and it did not go to time. I beat him with a clean 2-0. I don't think at any point in this match was he ever able to like put any real pressure on me. Um, I had some fairly lucky draws, um, but in general, I was able to. Anytime he tried to Voltron a unit, I was able to entrench it. Um, Anytime he played Victor Leader, I was able to kill it either with like takedown or force throw. Anytime he was able to play his do his leader flip, I a lot of times I like already had Poe out. Like there was times when he going into a 6 resource turn, I had Poe on the board and a Rival's Fall and an Entrenched in my hand. There was basically no way that he was able to have like an effective leader flip at all. So he would end up like flipping. I would entrench his leader or Rivals Fall it, and then he would have like 4-1-1 ties. I would just be able to like play, attack with Ray, heal 3, do 3 to his base, attack with like another healer like Kanan or something, and heal all the damage he was doing. But he's still having to use like all these actions to attack my base because he's just got all these 1/1s. So he never had initiative. He was also playing like a swarm deck, he um, so he had to use a lot of cards to like flood the board. But if you use a lot of cards against Ray, like you're starting the turn with 2 cards in your hand a lot, which means that I just pillage you. So there were like a lot of turns where we'd go into the turn. I would have initiative because he had to attack with all his 1/1s. He would have 2 cards in hands. I'd pillage. Uh, Sometimes I wouldn't even have a card left. Like I wouldn't be able to have a way to spend like the remaining like 3 or 4 resources in my hand. But I would just attack with my restore units, heal all the damage that he was going to do. That he did that turn. He would lose the initiative again because he had to attack with all his little 1/1s. Um, we'd go to the next turn. I'd pillage him again. We go to the next turn. Same thing. I would just attack with my restore, 3, restore 5, whatever total. Heal all the damage he did. He would attack with a bunch of 1/1s. We'd go to the next turn. He would resource. I would force throw the 1 card that he had in his hand. It was like it just went like that. Like it was somewhat criminal what I did to him, but that's how it goes sometimes. The next match was a Bosk Blue. This one, same story as before. I don't think he knew the matchup. I was able to basically just in one of the games. I don't remember how game 1 went. I think I was able to just like aggro him, just do enough damage and get a crate down or something like that. Game 2, I believe I was able to just discard his hand and just like get it to where he wasn't able to like get an engine going with anything. So it was fairly easy 2-0. If I recall correctly, I think this match took a total of 22 minutes, which is pretty uncommon for a Boss Blue match against anyone, let alone like another control deck like Raid Tarkintown. So feeling pretty good at 4-0. Go into Anakin Blue 30. This Anakin, I think the Anakin Blue 30 is a much better deck. It's much less vulnerable to discard. That being said, my deck completely let me down. In the first game, I think I had like a fairly weak hand that I had to mulligan. I think I had like a turn 1 play and then like no other play until like 4 resource turn or something like that. And against Anakin, that's not really very safe because I don't remember if I had initiative or not, but especially if you don't have the initiative, you're just done. If you only have one unit to play, because they'll kill that unit and then you're just sitting on your hands for a couple turns, and eventually they can just like lock you out of an arena. So I mulliganed, and I mulliganed into a hand with no turn 1 play. I think I only had a Conquer Dawn as my only turn 2 play. I was able to like fight my way back into it, and I think I got like pretty close to being able to win. I had a towards the end of the game, like I think I had him on the ropes, but he was able to get he had a Arc 170 with a couple XP on it, and then a couple other ship, like another Arc 170 and like a Conquer Dawn in space, and I just like did not draw into anything to like close the door on him. So he was able to just like hit me with those ships in the air, and like I really just needed to draw like a Luke or something to be able to like kill like one of the arcs, and I would have won. any removal really. Like if I'd drawn like a takedown, anything like that, I would have been able to win. But deck let me down. I just drew like a bunch of useless cards late, and he was able to win by like beating me down with 2 Arc 170s. Game two, similarly, like I don't think I saw Luke in either game. I don't think I drew one in total, and he just drew better than me. There wasn't much I could do in that game. So yeah, so he beat me 0-2. It was total deck taking a crap match. Not much more to say about it. The next match was Quinlan Tarkintown. This one was pretty close. I won game one. Game two went down to the wire. He beat me. It was like a normal Quinlan Tarkentown game where he like gets his pumps and stuff late in the game and is able to close it out. And then yeah, and then I ended up picking up the third game. I don't remember it being. It was 2-1, but I don't really remember it being very difficult. I know that sounds weird, but I that in a 3 game match, but I remember like my wins being easy, and then he won one game, like a close uh, middle game of the set. Again, I think with all of these matches, I've played Luke like one time out of all of these matches. I was winning on the back of like Poe Damerons and stuff, which is like pretty unusual for my deck. Usually, my Luke is like my main win condition. Luke and Crate. Then Sabine. I was a little bit nervous going into this one, even though I knew that I had a loss that I could give and still make day two. I practiced a lot against Sabine recently, and I had been winning in practice, but I just feel like Sabine can still just blitz you and curve out, and you lose like no matter what you do. So I was just worried about my opponent just like hitting the nuts on against me. They did not hit the nuts against me, and my strategy worked. I was able to use entrench really well. In game two, I think I had one turn. I think it was like my 5 or 6 resource turn where he had a Sabine's Masterpiece and a Green Squadron, or not a Phoenix Squadron A-Wing in the air. That was like a 5/4. I I entrenched his Sabine's Masterpiece like with my first action. I think he put like a Luke on his A-Wing, and then I entrenched the A-Wing, and then he was just like never able to do anything for the rest of the game. I think I like had like 4 units on the ground, one of which was like I think I had like a regional governor that I named like Poe with. So I named like Poe or Wrecker with the regional governor and like just locked him out of the game. So it was like a pretty easy 2-0. Then so I'm at this point I'm 6-1 heading into the final round, and this is where my tournament falls apart. I go to the table, and I'm sitting across from Paul Heaver, and he says, "Hey, I'm offering you an intentional draw." Everything I know in this game tells me do not take that intentional draw. Like, but I was locked. I was like in 12th place in the standings or something like that at this point. Even if I lost, I was still gonna go to day two, and I think I was so tired, and I think like brain fog was starting to set in from this flu that I've got, that I was just like, sure. I hadn't even seen what deck he was playing, so I accepted the ID, and then I asked him. I was like, okay, so by the way, like what are you playing? And he said, I'm playing Hantu ECL. I was like, damn it, that is like a free win for me. So I was like, hey, you want to play a fun one? So he played a fun one, smoked him. It went exactly how I would have thought it went. He wasn't able to do anything. It was literally just like playing against Sabine, but easier. So I was like kicking myself. I was like, why did I do that? But anyway, it happened. It was a moment of weakness. I don't know why I accepted that. There's 0 point for me accepting a draw there. I was in no danger of not making day two. He told me, he was like my breakers aren't that good. I feel like I'm not gonna make day two if I lose. And I was just like, okay. But anyway, that was where it all fell apart, because I went to day two, and My very first match, I played against a Cura Data Vault and got a draw. Uh, we went to time. In game one, I won game one. Uh, went pretty well. Uh, Game plan executed. Game two, I felt like I was ahead. My we were the game was taking a while. I felt like my opponent could play a little bit faster. I don't think he wasn't like intentionally slow playing or anything, but the clock was winding down where like there was no way that he could win the game and then win another game. So basically, we are playing either for me to win or to draw. And it gets down to like 5 minutes left, and I'm like, hey man, we got 5 minutes left. Like, might want to hurry up. Um, he ends up winning like right as like time expires, where we can't even like shuffle up for the next game. And I think where I went wrong was telling him to hurry up. I think if I had just let him continue to play at the pace he was playing, I just would have won. We would have gone to time in that game, and then I would have won the match 1-0. So that's just something like that was just like a situation I was unfamiliar with. Um, if that happens at a tournament again and I've won the first game, I think I should just allow my opponent to play slow in game two. He ended up going like essentially like runner, 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 and like 3 turns in a row to be able to like win that game. I had a pretty commanding board presence, had him on the ropes, and I think he was like top decking, and I think he drew like Devastator into like, or like Relentless into Devastator into like Timely Reinforcement Walker or something like that. Um, so yeah. Anyway, we went to time. Uh, then I play against. At this point, I'm like kind of screwed because I think I have to win. If I win all 3 of the next games or next matches, then I can get in. But I don't like the feeling that I'm put myself in where I have to win out. Um, I win the next one against Cadbane Tarkintown. Uh, Same story as a lot of these matches where I think my opponent was fairly unfamiliar with the matchup. I've played the matchup a decent amount, so I was able to exploit that. And it was a fairly easy 2-0 win. Then I play against Getsu from McClunky on Kira Data Vault. And not much to be said about this loss. He just beat me fair and square. My head was definitely like super foggy this day. I didn't realize that I had the flu at the time, but I did, and I just had like an immense brain fog that I was having a hard time getting through. I was like drinking coffee like every round. I had like another coffee to try and like power through the brain fog, but having a brain fog and playing against Getsu is like not where you want to be, and he just beat me. Not much else to say about it. And then the final round was against Duncan Howard on Boss Blue. He won game one. It took a while for it to get to like the state of inevitability, where I conceded at some point when he basically had a restock vigilance loop, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get out of it. So I conceded to go to game two. Game two I won, and then game three like it just like was a bit of a stalemate. I'm sure he would have liked me to have conceded that, but because I don't think I had like a clear way to win, but I don't think that he necessarily had a clear way to win either. At least like in any sort of like quick amount of time. So I was not gonna give it up. So we went to time. So anyway, that was the tournament. Day two was kind of disappointing. I ended up with only 2 losses, but 3 draws, 1 intentional, 2 unintentional. So 7, 2, and 3 ended up with a 34th place out of 585 players, which I think is pretty good for a sort of off-meta deck. It was good enough to win me a showcase, which I was pretty excited about, getting my second Ray showcase. But I think I could have done things a little bit differently. The reason I'm a little disappointed in my showing is because so many of my matches were so easy. I think if I had just not taken the draw in the final round of day one, it would have put me into like such a more favorable position in day two. Also, taking the draw put me into a bracket with players who had gone to time already. It basically put me into like the the go to time bracket, and I think that had it was part of why I got matched into um, matchups where I went to time in day two, if that makes sense. So anyway, don't take an intentional draw unless you literally are not going to make day two, because it will not set you up to make top eight. I feel like if I had not taken that draw, I had a really good shot at making top eight. I think the deck is as strong as it's ever been. It felt like pretty much in all of my matches, except for the one Anakin match, it felt like I posted on Discord. It felt like driving a BMW. It like felt super smooth. Like everything was just like firing. Like the game plan was working. Like I felt like I had play into like everything. I don't know. It felt really good. So anyway, I would if your question to me is what I would change after this weekend. That's always a question, right? Whenever someone plays a tournament, people are always like, what would you do differently? Any changes that you'd make? And I try to look at the list and see what I would change. And I don't know. I don't think I would change anything. I mean, I think yeah. I was looking at it this morning to see if I would even change like a single card out of the 60, and I think if I was playing in another tournament this weekend, I would just run back this exact 60 exactly as it is. Um, so yeah, I don't think any of the problems in the tournament, any of the two losses or the games that went to time were really deck related. The only thing that maybe I would change is I would consider running a couple vigilance, even either in the Nima Outpost Constable slot or in the Champs and Dula slot. Those could maybe be a couple vigilance just for like the Bosk matchup. Because one of the games against Bosk, I actually won by them milling themselves out, and I do think that you could. Do you think that you don't need to have like a complete vigilance restock package in your deck to be able to outmill those type of decks, or at least to like discard their restocks off the top of their deck if you get lucky? So I don't know. That's something to consider if you have a very controlling if you have a control meta, then maybe swap the Nemas out for vigilance. But otherwise, that's it. That was the tournament recap. If you have any questions, comment below and I'll try and answer as many as I can. Otherwise, hit me up on Discord. I'll leave all my Discord info down below. If you're interested in learning more about how to play this deck and others, you could join the Patreon. I'll have that info below. And if you like this video at all or want to see any other content or streams of mine, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.